Ah, we're live.
No.
Hi to everybody watching this live hangout. I'm really sorry. My train coming from St Albans to London and then back out to Bexley was late. In fact, all the trains were late. So I was messaging poor old Anthony. I think I'm going to be late, and he was very calm. He was really relaxed about it. So anyway, we're here now. So for those of you who are joining us, watching live, thank you very much indeed, and welcome to what was it? Winning Proposals
101.
Phew! I remembered the title. That's good.
Well, it came out of a comment you and I had a week ago. You said, kind of like where I'm at and where everybody else at is such a big space. You know, when we're really good at something, we're just brilliant at something. We just do it so naturally, and you go, well, doesn't everybody think like that? And like, well, no. That's the genius in each one of us. It's whatever our own genius is. And you said, well, you kind of need to space it out, break it down into bite-sized chunks. So,
yeah, that was exactly it. I mean, I've known Anthony for a few years now, and don't tell him I've said this, but he's singularly one of the cleverest people I know. But it's important he doesn't know that. Okay, so this is our secret. And I've known he's got this knack, this gift for understanding the whole proposal process, but also how to bring really clear thinking to the process, so that you grow through the process. It becomes something kind of holistic and enjoyable rather than something daunting and scary. But like he says, he knows loads about it. So when I talk to him about stuff that I might be interested in, I'm like, well, I don't know that. Oh, I don't know that. I don't know that. And then I read his proposals to do stuff, and it's like brilliant. But there's, for him, a canyon of knowledge is a small step, and for me, and I guess for some of you watching it, it's a canyon. So I said, whoa, perhaps in true principal style, slow down, Neddy, slow down. We need to start. We need to start sharing stuff about this, so that basically, when some stuff comes up, you can decide whether it's something you want to do, whatever your speciality is, and B, when he throws open things like, right, we're going to spend an intensive weekend learning X, Y, Z, you know what it means, because that's and. This is the same for any of us that are running a business, is making sure that people have got a chance to join in and say, yes, I want to do it, or no, actually, I don't want to do it. It doesn't much matter which answer you get in truth, And the weird thing people forget is you need more no's than yeses. Because if every time, it's odd, isn't it? Particularly if you want clients at the moment, but if every time you actually got a yes that you were putting it out there, you'd be deluged, you'd be swamped. And whilst it can seem like a good idea, it will bury you, and it does bury. Anthony could share stories with you, but you probably know some yourself. That buries businesses because they're not ready for it. So, so the plan this evening is to do two things. It's to slow him down, and I'm going to sit with brakes on him and get him to open up piece by piece some of the stuff that it would be good to have to up your understanding of the proposal process, who they might be for, and then also for you to bring your questions, and please ask questions. If you're watching this kind of whether you're watching live now or as a recording, don't watch passively. I'm almost tempted to say if you're passively watching, it's probably not for you, so go and watch something else, because I'm very funny. Anthony's occasionally funny, but there's probably better stuff on the TV to be bringing up. There's some Sid Banks stuff you could listen to or something. So if you're going to, joking aside, if you're going to spend your time with us, engage with it. Use it. Fire questions, particularly Anthony. because he knows stuff, and he knows stuff that can make you money and have you do what you say you love doing. That's really important. A lot of people talk about. I'll shut up in a minute, by the way, Anthony, just in case you're worried. But I hear endlessly people talking about, do what you love. I want to do what I love. I want to coach. I want to train. Well, do it then. Find out. The only way to find out if you want to spend your days, your life doing that stuff is to be doing it. Spending your days and life thinking about doing it will tell you whether you enjoy thinking about it. It'll tell you nothing about whether you enjoy doing it. I've done a lot of that in the last 4 or 5 years to practically find out which bits I really like. So I'd encourage you to send questions. Send questions now. Jedi mantra. Anthony, you created a form, didn't you, for people to complete and tell you more about them. Can you talk about why that was and why you want people to fill it in now and send it to you?
Couple of reasons why was I kept hearing about people wanting to kind of create clients. We have to create clients. We have to create clients, and I was going, well, from my experience, like 20 years, it's like there's a bunch of people, and there was something you said. You did a webinar a 3 months, 4 months ago, whatever it was, and it's sales, and there was something you said that really hit me hard, which was find a problem and solve it. It's like go and find a problem, and that's what I've done for decades, and decades in just 2 plurals, it's not that far up. But what I've done is there's a bunch of people out there who have problem. Organizations, they have a bunch of money, they have a purpose, a thing they want to do, and it's like we have an idea of what it is we want to do to solve that problem. The thing we want is actually, can somebody come and solve our problem? Because we don't do stuff. It's like government. Government does do stuff. It creates policies, and then it has a bunch of cash, and then it pays people to do stuff. And then we are talking something. If you took just the grants industry in the UK, grants, not contracts, tenders, or anything like that. The grants industry is worth £15 billion a year. That marketplace is 15 billion. If you go to government, public sector, that's about 300 billion pounds a year. They kind of contract out stuff. They have a problem. They can't do it themselves. They go, we need. So they put a specification together, and they go like, we just need to know who can solve a problem, and we just want to put a name on the check. That's it. It's like, you've got a best idea to solve our problem, best way to solve our problem. We will write you a check and go ahead and do it. And I was seeing people kind of like having to create clients from nothing. I'm like, well, there's a bunch of people who've already got problems. They've got the checkbook, they've got the budget, just want somebody to go out and solve it. So I thought, what can I do to connect that up? So I created the Facebook group Heads Up from Head Stuff, because I get like contract opportunities. They come in my inbox, and it's like every day, 16, 15, 20 of them every day. It's like, so I post them, share them, because I thought I don't want to deny people of the opportunity to get out there, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, the contact form was a way of I have like a radar. If you tell me stuff, even if you told me 6 months, 12 months, 3 years ago, it still seems to lodge in me. I have this thing of curiosity. I just endlessly go out and look for stuff. And if there's some way I could help somebody and go, oh, I know that, I will find it. It'll come up in my mind. I will come across it, and I go, well, there it is. Off you go. So the contact form was a way of actually, if you tell me like who you are, what you're interested in, geographically is really helpful sometimes. But the kind of stuff you're looking for or you want to do, I thought, well, sometimes, and we talked about it. We talked about a contract last week that. So well, I could do this bit, but I could do with somebody else doing another bit.
Okay.
So
I'm going to slow you down here, right? Because you know, even no. It's great stuff, right? But I want to make sure that for people who want action points out of this, that we can try as much as we can, because we'll get excited and gabble, because we do that when we go on calls and stuff, yeah. So there was two things that I heard, and you can add to these, embellish or add more. The two clear things I heard were that there's a world of people, organizations sitting with cash, needing to move forward in some way.
Yes.
And they just want to write a check to somebody who says, "Oh, I could help you with that."
Yes.
So that's like number one thing. Number two thing, what I hear is you're saying to people, look, whatever stage you're at in your business or your growth or your development, you've probably got, like most people I've met in the principals community, somewhere they've got a burning passion to do something.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's kind of like three things I think that go on for me. I'll talk about me because I like doing that. No. Because it's the easiest example, because I know what goes on in my head. There's three things I really enjoy. What I call like powerful private clients, one-to-one stuff. People who want to do stuff in the world. Those people I really enjoy spending time with. Second thing is corporate, is business, and getting the understanding into a world that is convinced that the days have to be boring and humdrum, and you can't be a person in there. You need to be a mannequin, a caricature. So I like going in and smashing that illusion to pieces and loosening people up and having them function as people. So that's the second thing. Third thing is education, because I was a school teacher for 10 years, and if you can get the understanding, not so much into the children, you can get it into the staff. Yeah, kids have got it anyway, to be honest. It's just that we unteach it. They self-correct really fast. But if you can get it into educational leaders, which I'm doing in like the tiniest speckety way privately currently, you're going to impact colleagues in schools, children, their families, therefore their employers. Your ripple effect is massive. So I think one of the things that would massively help you, Anthony, and therefore help the people who are on that, is for them to tell you, even in the most rustic terms, what they give a damn about, what they care about, and what they want to do. Because, like you say, you have this radar, you have this capacity to spot. And the other thing that Anthony has, for people who don't know him that well, is this bizarre ability to link what appear to be disjointed things together into chains that make sense. And that's a real skill. That's a real ability to be able to take large amounts of what looks from the outside highly complex, and from the inside he turns it into just simple logical steps. I think I've been nice to you enough now, haven't
I? You're kind of pretty accurate.
That's that covered off. I can be normal again. So those two things, the stuff that exists, and through the contact form, tell him what you're looking for, so that he can switch his reticular activating system, if you like, to look for the stuff that might be interesting for you.
It's kind of interesting because one of the things I find, I'm going to talk about later on, but is actually writing things down makes a big difference. We have a lot of stuff in our heads. Wouldn't it be great if we could do that? If this would only happen, if that would only happen. And yet it's the act of writing things down, people suddenly get very insecure. It's like, oh, I've got to craft this perfectly and amazingly well. And as far as I'm concerned, if however rough already, I can kind of see through that. I can pick up stuff which you kind of, if you have an idea, an area, a passion or something that is you want to do, it's like I can see the direction you want to go in. So it could be just as rough and ready. I really don't mind.
That's so important. I just for a second, I just want to see people to see what's going on there, because when sometimes when we read something, we get a feeling for what we'd like to do. Yeah. So this is mostly going to be watched by people who understand the 3 principles. So you're going to get what I'm saying. You get a feel for what you want to do. It's a known to you. It's not even knowing. It's a known. It's inside you. It's that great feeling of what you want to do. Where we get in a pickle is the moment our mouth opens to articulate that feeling, we come away from the feeling. You can't stay in it. The moment you start to speak it, describe it, talk about it, because it's formless, it's a feel, you disappear off the point. And we were talking about this with Mark Howard today. He was electric today. It was just awesome. And the moment you start to describe this stuff, it disappears. And this is another thing that Anthony can do, and why it's so cool having somebody who's got the practical experience of the process and a principles-based grounding, is that he'll tune back into the feeling of where you were and kind of declunk your words so that he gets closest to the essence of describing what you meant when you had the feeling. So I've come out with all sorts of waffly rubbish, and he'll play it back to me and go, yeah, I think simply, Dave, this is what I'm trying to say. And he'll play it back in 6 words. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, that took me 20 minutes. But yeah, basically, you've just played back. And that's the kind of filtering process. And I think I'm right, Anthony, so kick me if I'm wrong. But people who are reading proposals, that's what they're looking for, that simplicity and clarity. So basically, they can get it off their desk and go, yeah, check her in.
I've read other people's proposals, and it's so full of jargon and awfully stuff that you're like, what are you trying to say? It kind of doesn't get across the message, and one of the things I do, people I work with, I encourage them to do is it's just it's very simple things like write in the present tense, because so many people were so used to kind of projecting into the future. Now the weird thing about when you kind of write stuff in the future or the third person is it disconnects from the reader. The thing is, when you write in the present tense, it's as if the thing that you want to do is here and now. I've had people read over my stuff, and it's kind of weird because there's like gaps in it. You know, like stages. How does that happen? And they automatically fill the gaps. They start to connect, and they get the feeling too that almost like the original words, and what the original words and what the feeling was behind the words that you actually wanted to get across. It's like that comes across and connects through with somebody. And that's for somebody who is kind of having to assess these, put a proposal together, and somebody might get, from my experience, somebody might get 5 proposals on their desk, and pretty much any one of those 5, but the virtue of actually submitting it, it means that they could probably do an okay job. But it's the ones that kind of connect that I find stand out. And a very simple, as I said, a very simple thing is just writing in the present tense. It becomes real for the reader compared to all the other stuff that they read, which is like sometime in the future and this, and we would like to be doing this, or we'd like to do that, and it just kind of detaches the reader. Because there would be a specific
example. Can you actually say some stuff in the present tense so that people can get that.
God. Okay, there's the difference between okay, when present tense would be when this happens. What we do is we get a bunch of people in the room, and then we start talking to them, and I'm trying to think of a really good example. It came and then it went.
No, you've got that. I've just been put on the spot thinking.
I know, it's like, okay.
Okay, come back to it or include it later, but
It'll come up.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think it's sometimes because we can, we can hear great advice and we can hear somebody who knows a lot of stuff, but in meetings and whatever, I am the infernal question asker until I've got it. And I usually, when I was younger, I shied away from that. So I'd often leave rooms not with an understanding of what was being presented. This was massive in my, in my undergraduate years. I was just too embarrassed to ask questions. Nowadays, I just don't care. So I'd miss asking a question from source, from the lecturer, and I'd ask one of my friends, and so I'd get their cobbledy version of whatever. So I think it's good. It's good to get as close to source as possible. So yeah, if that comes back to you, then just blurt it out basically, and give us a live example. One of the things that came up to me when you were talking, or came into my mind when you were talking, then was so we got a feel for people want to write stuff, and you put up in the Facebook group regularly the kind of proposals, right? So let's say you're a 3P facilitator or a coach or practitioner or whatever other description people have got, and you look at one of your proposals and you think, I could do that work, that interests me. What then?
Steps. First thing would be a lot of stuff is done electronically. There's something come to mind, and it'll come back later. But a lot of done in the desire to get people like pitching stuff or what was it called? Being competitive, they call it. The information is freely available. So the first thing you do is you get the specification. You might have register what we call register an interest to say, I am interested in this. Please send me the specification. And that they have different names like tender document, specification, requirements, whatever it is. But this document they've written down. This is what we're looking for. This is the problem. This is what we've identified. This is what we want to see differently. Can somebody help us out to solve that? So it's look at the specification. Sometimes I looked at a coaching contract up in Cumbria, and I looked at the specification. I thought that's interesting because it was business coaching. I was brought up in Cumbria. I know the area very well. And I thought that'd be a fun thing to do. I pioneered business coaching in the UK, so I've got an amazing track record in that area. So I thought that'd be great. And I came across, it wasn't in the specification, but it was actually in the contract letter, the offer of the contract. And I was scrolling down it, and it said, we will pay £21 an hour. And that was including expenses, travel. I went, no. And that was enough for me to go, don't go any further forward. Because so sometimes it's like, very quickly you can go, that's it. That's not for me. I saw another one, it said we need some to deliver financial training to adults, but it said, the contract spec said, we would like you to work, be available mornings, afternoons, evenings, weekends. We want you to be a qualified teacher and we'll pay £15 an hour. And I go, okay, that's not for me.
Yeah.
So you can. The thing is, you can dismiss that as that's not for me. That's fine. But just by reading what it is that people are looking for, there's a problem there. If somebody's identified a problem in one part of the country, nearest damn it is somewhere else. So just the fact of reading through stuff means that you start to get a feel for what it is that the other person has a problem with, or the other organisation sees as a problem.
Okay.
So you start to learn already.
We're going to slow. We're going to slow you down.
I was feeling I'm not answering your question.
No. It's good because there's some really useful stuff there, and that last point I think is worth just pointing at again, that part of what you get, I think, from hanging out with you and looking at proposals and looking at what people want, is you get a sense of where markets are, of where people are.
Yeah.
Now, not just the person who's put the stuff out to tender, but other organisations of a similar ilk. You know, and I think that's what you're saying, is that if there's a local authority that are looking for a particular service to I'm getting a note about food.
Takes a lot to cook.
Okay. Yes, please. Sorry. If I can't believe that. It's really fun. Yeah, if you've got a local authority or 3 local authorities that are identifying a specific issue and describing it in another way, then that tells you there's something big going on, so that any organisation that is like them has that issue. If you start talking that language, then your rapport goes up. Yeah?
Yeah.
Your credibility with those people goes up. I've used this already. I read some stuff in one of the corporate ones, and I was talking to, what would be a private client for me. And I started asking them about well-being and something that I'd read. And I linked it to an article that I'd read that, in fact, Ankush posted in another group from the CIPD, Chartered Institute of Professional Development, about, and they were like, oh, he knows stuff. I hope no one ever watches this from there, but I knew a lot less than I think they thought I knew, in truth. But I had enough of an understanding. Yeah, this is why the principles things is just so cool. I had enough of a grounding, enough of an understanding for them to do some nodding, and for me to go up the leaderboard in terms of whether they have another conversation.
I know, was it 10, 12 years ago? I was asked to set up a company, essentially we're a consultancy in marketing business development, and one of my directors said he'd been a consultant a bit longer than me because I was brand spanking new, and he said his definition of a consultant was to know 5% more than your client. It's like, we kind of expect ourselves to have a quantum of knowledge, quantum distance of knowledge from where the person is. But they're stuck here, and when you're in this kind of a stuck world, it's a very small world, it's a very closed world. So somebody who just has a little bit of something, a bit of hope, you go, wow, that's great. And it could be the tiniest bit. I was doing my MBA with the Open University, and I did my finance. The finance tutor was completely honest. He said, "This is new to me. I'm a book ahead of you. I will read ahead of you, and then know you." And he was a great tutor. That's all he needed. We often think we have to be like brilliant people, that we have to be incredibly far advanced experts, huge experts. It's like, no. I'll tell you my
no, I'm going to slow you down again, right? Because
no, it's a great story.
It's going to drive you crazy, right? Because there was a great question from Nikki, I think it was, about And I think the point you just made speaks to Nikki's question about how do you say the right thing. And I think whenever we write proposals or job apps or CVs or anything, we've all got this kind of learned thing that we need to write the right thing. And actually, the only thing you can do, unless you outsource it, is write what you know right now. And there's a massive simplicity in that. You know, we can share what we know now on this Hangout. You know a load, and I can try and slow you down so that people can feel into where you are, and they can do something with it rather than it just being, you know, yet another useful anecdotal piece of information. Or they can just discard it and go, do you know what, I don't want to go near a proposal for the rest of my days. Whichever, doesn't much matter. But that ability to stick with what you know is true. You know, again, this came loud and clear out of the training we're on today. Speak from your truth. Write what you know is true. And the field will guide you that. You start waffling, you start drifting off into jargon, into language or whatever, your feeling will tell you you're off the mark. And someone will feel the feeling through your words. That's what they're going to connect to, your crappy feeling when you write. You know, you've ever written an email or a note in anger? I mean, you know, I never have. and you know darn well that people connect, as carefully as you clinically word it, people connect to your frustration. That's what they feel. So writing what you know is true, safe.
The weird thing is, I see that as a competitive advantage. Because most people write from, oh my God, I've got to get this, I've got to do that, I hope they like me, I hope I'm saying the right things, I hope it fits what it is that they're looking for. It's like, you mentioned the job application. I think it's a great analogy, because the first time we write a job application, we see it's, oh my God, I have to amass all this information. You know, like, you know, like my work history, my successes in work, my qualifications, my hobbies, all that kind of stuff. You have to stick together. The first time you do it, and you and I probably can still remember our first job application, it's kind of an exercise. The second time you do it, you've already got the stuff together. And because you've had a little bit of practice, you get better at it. So that statement that says, what do you want this job? What it is you can offer, the first time it might feel a bit clunky. The second time you look back at it and go, well, I could tweak that, play that, it's a cut and paste job, bit of tweaking here, you get better. So the second job application takes considerably less amount of time than the first one, and then you get better, and then you get better at it. And it's the thing in anything. It's like putting a proposal. Once you've done the first one, it's like, oh God, it's a huge amount of work, because you amass a lot of information, you condense it. But the second time, it's like, well, I've got this already. But you said something which I always put across to people, which is the opposite of how most people put proposals together. They usually look at a prospectus or a contract and go, oh yeah, I can shoehorn something into that. And at that point, the authenticity, the integrity of it starts to disappear.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing that you really wanted to do, and I always say to people, you know, it's in my kind of right at the back, the first thing you do not look at what's available. It's like, what is it you really want to do? And it doesn't have to be particularly accurate. It's like, this is the thing, because then it's like having a contract on your own terms, because you'll find it will align with people.
I love that. So I just want to labour that just slightly. So what I'm hearing, I just want to play it back to you for the benefit of people who are going to watch. Yeah. what I'm hearing almost is you're suggesting, you see there's a proposal, you go away, you register for it, you get the full details, you read through the details, and then almost you put it to one side and you say, okay, what can I add? What would I like to deliver? What's my take on their situation? What can I bring to the show? Because my guess is that if you do that, you'll turn over and look at it again or whatever, and you'll see that what comes from your wisdom, the stuff you want to do, they're probably asking for. But it's clean. I think this is what you're saying. It's clean because it came from you first, versus having your associated thinking around shoehorning it into a box. Is that a fair reflection of what you said?
It is. It's because most people think, what is it that they want to hear? So you're not yourself anymore.
Mm.
It's like the job interview. And I interviewed for somebody for one of my companies years ago, and they got really good at job interviews because they gave answers, like stock answers to the questions, because they'd had a lot of practice it. They turned up in the job, and then they kind of fell true to type, and there was nothing wrong with their true to type. It was just that the person we interviewed wasn't actually the person who turned up on day one. It just didn't work out at all. And but if as I said, it's a competitive advantage. If all the other people putting forward their proposals are going like they're insecure, thinking this is what they want to hear, that comes across. Whereas somebody who's truly authentic, there is a resonance with it. It stands out. And the amazing thing is that you can follow that through, because it's not just the proposal, it's like delivering what it is you're going to do. Because that creates your track record for the next one. And when you turn up and kind of deliver what it is you're proposing to do, you get amazing results. People do, and you get a track record for it. The practical stuff is you evidence that, you collect the evidence as you go along, because you always collect the evidence for the next thing.
Anthony, I've just been looking at the Hangout page, so forgive me, I was looking away from the camera for the moment. There's a question from Shirley, so thanks, Shirley. Where can I access the form to fill out? Can you just point people to that again?
It's on my Headstuff from Headstuff Facebook group. I would stick it on my business page, which is Headstuff. Do you want me to do that right now?
Well, I mean, if you can walk and chew gum, I think that's good. We can we can be versatile and do stuff here. One thing I would say to people, because there's been a bucket load of information already, although we've managed to sort of chunk it down. I'm conscious that we don't want to overload people. I want people to start to get a really strong feel for how you can use Anthony. I'm just selling you out here, mate. How you can use his expertise, because there's so much expertise around, and it's easy to overlook it and race ahead to the next stage, and just tell me everything I need to know about proposals, and if you really want to tap into this revenue source, these are big numbers. I mean, I've been looking at some contracts, within my kind of specialisms, and you're talking about, small contracts being 70 grand, 150 grand, 200 grand. These are big. You've got to find a lot of private clients to match that kind of thing. Plus, you've got the benefit of learning about industries just from going through the process. And here's another thing. I did a little bit of research today and said to people, I told them we were doing a hangout and said, what do you think about proposals, just to gauge where people were. And the number one thing that came back was, oh no, too much work, take too much time, don't want to do that. I'm not convinced that's true. I know you've said that it's a diminishing thing anyway, Anthony, because once you've done one, your understanding goes up. You never have to relearn that bit. You might have to refresh it, but you never have to learn it. But I still think that there's a barrier, a thought barrier there for people, that this is more complicated than it really is. Am I right? Can you speak about that for us?
I'll tell the story that you stopped me from telling before.
Sorry about that.
It's fine, because I've been on both sides of the camp. I've been a gamekeeper and poacher. I've actually put the document together. I've seen stuff. I've assessed stuff. And now it's like on the other side and has been for quite some years. But my first, when I left the chief executive of this business marketing company, I was sat in my office and I was reading the prospectus. I was putting together a proposal for a client. And in the prospectus, I saw something there that what can we do to help business? We're looking for something to help businesses. I rang a friend of mine. I said, I think we could do something about this, because I'd spent 5 years helping businesses. In the space of an hour on a phone call, tapping away at the computer, because this is about midday and the deadline's 5 o'clock. In about space of an hour, we came up with something, and I was typing away, filling application, and like really short sentences, and like we could do this, and it was basically what can we do to help business to grow. The startup rate in businesses is particularly poor. The success rate is particularly poor. Is there something else we can do? I happened to have a coach, a personal coach at the time, and I thought, well, that's kind of, and I like my business consultancy stuff. I thought we'll stick something together, and I came up with business coaching. Never heard of it before. Didn't exist at the time. This is 1999. So in the space of an hour, created this application. Like 5:15, pinged the email, it went off. It was £50,000, and that took an hour. 2 weeks later, they came back to me and said, "This is amazing. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Yay! Oh, I could become a coach now."
I think that's quite a nice way of. It's quite a nice way of becoming, a coach. Is by. It's by virtue of action, rather than by virtue of going to visit a marketing company. Not that I'm knocking marketing companies, but I think sometimes we do things the other way around. Some of the most successful stuff I've done has come from as a result of action, not from a result of me sitting around planning something. Yeah. So I've got in there, wherever there is, Well, take the school actually. Mostly in the last 4 or 5 years, I've done businessy stuff, some private stuff, and I'm about to, launch a search to do some more one-on-one clients. That was subtle, wasn't it? Sorry, I just caught myself in plug mode.
I didn't hear it, Dave. Anyway, so it's good.
Yeah. So for anybody who wants, so that's something I want to do more of. I really, really enjoy that. But the school thing came out from seeing a need and then learning about it on the job, basically, and then asking for referrals from people who seem to quite like the conversation, and asking for referrals of other people who they thought would want it, not need it. I'm not interested in people who need coaching. Because we could sit altruistically and argue that everybody needs it. Well, yeah, whatever. If they want it, then I don't have to go through the conversion process of moving need to want. It just cuts out the gap. The question becomes, do they want it with me? And, there are no shortage of people who want coaching. Mostly what coaches don't do is ask. They don't ask that question. So I love how you came about it by asking questions and by formulating something rapidly so it came clean, and you became it through action. Wisdom moved you forward, fresh thought, produced action, boom, off we go. Shirley, thanks again. Thanks for your feedback. That's really kind. Shirley says I'm a lot funnier than you, Anthony, which I think is great. She didn't really. I was feeling ridiculously cheeky. The information for the tenders is in the Heads Up from Head Stuff Facebook group. So if you're not in that group, Shirley, then just put an application in, and Anthony will let you in, administer that thing anyway that people do to let people into groups, and you can read through all of the posts there. Cool.
There's a pile of useful stuff as well. I've got a guide, which the kind of the kind of websites that I trawl where tenders, contracts, whatever it is posted, they're all listed there. You can do it yourself, and actually the process is all listed there. The thing I was talking about, come up with the idea first, then you're kind of true to yourself, and then you're actually authentic. I was dug these out. These are my ideas books, and if I have an idea, it goes down here. Wow. And every now and again, I kind of look through those and go, oh, okay, so
here's mine.
Oh, I have a big stack of post-it notes too.
Like I said, you're just more clever than me.
But there's a couple of, because a couple of stories I want to tell, but so somebody came to me and said about a month, 6 weeks ago, and said, I kind of work with one client. Can you kind of help me kind of get into the corporate world and get like the kind of contract stuff you're talking about, the kind of bigger stuff? And I said, yeah, I can help you there. And they work in financial services. And so I had an idea like 8 months ago. It's like, well, because I live just about an hour outside Geneva in the mountains. Geneva is the center of private banking, as well as the kind of UN type stuff that goes on down there. And I had this idea, it's like, what can I do to connect in the financial sector? And then this guy turns up and says, I'd like to work more in the financial sector. And it's like, what can we do? So we put together a proposal which is going through people. I went to an organisation called Brits in Business. It's run by the British Consulate in Geneva last night. We did speed networking, which is really, really not my thing. I then discovered that the British Consulate, they employ people to make the connections for British businesses with financial institutes. I actually spoke to the guy from the British Consulate who's employed by the government to actually facilitate all of that. So it's like, oh, I don't actually have to speak to all that. This could introduce me. And that was speed network. That was a 1 minute conversation. He said, "Yeah, I can do that for you. Here's my card."
You nearly said speed dating then, didn't you?
I did, because right at the start of it, introducing it, this guy from the consulate said, "If those of you think this is speed dating, you've come to the wrong meeting." And a couple of people left.
Did you all have to carry a newspaper under your arm and a single rose, and Not that I've ever done it, but you know, there you go. So I think that's really important, though. The fact that once you start speaking into the world, and you were talking about the importance of writing stuff down, but basically once you start communicating to the universe, to the world, to people, even to yourself out loud, you know, it's really important to remember that we are all connected. We are all, in a sense, peace of mind. We're a peace of mind. We're not mind on our own, but we're a bit of it, you know. And there is this stuff that it ripples out. I don't get it, but I've seen it happen enough times that I know it's there. It's true for me to know that it's there. I can put my hat on it. That you can start speaking about stuff. And don't worry if it's going to change or you're not certain or any of that, you know, stuffy thinking that we all get. Everybody gets it. Mark Howard, bless him. I hope he wouldn't mind me sharing the story, but I guess not because the event was recorded today. But he was talking about, all the fantastic videos that are out for the principals and how easy it is to point to it. And he was saying, and this guy is, new Sid and has been doing this for 30, I don't know how many years, and has just the most incredible grounding. And he's talking about how he feels insecure when he watches other people's videos of them sharing the principles. What? How, what hope is there for the rest of us? But there's that real ease of you don't need to get any of this right. You don't need to have all the answers. Luckily for us, we don't need to have your, 90 years experience of doing this. You look good for a chap that age, seriously. We don't need it because A, we've got our grounding, and B, we've got you. And C, it doesn't help to take it too seriously. It doesn't mean being trivial about it. That's something different. But we don't need to get too caught and be serious about this. We can just start speaking. So one of the things, here's my challenge. Am I allowed to issue a challenge to people watching?
Oh, please do.
Cool. This is great. So, and I'm going to make me do it as well. Here's the challenge. Either in the Facebook group, the Heads Up from Head Stuff, or on Anthony's wall or on my wall, but I think the group would be best actually, is I want you to say what it is you think you're interested in at the moment, in as basic a form as that can be, but commit to it. Open up that channel of possibility. If you then decide, oh, maybe not, it doesn't matter. But open up that dialogue with the universe, with people, so that we can know, so that we all know, because we all come across opportunities day in, day out for stuff. But if I don't know, hang on, I'm just flicking back to my screen. If I don't know what Shirley's interested in, if I hear an opportunity that Shirley could be perfect for, and I don't know, then I'm going to go somewhere else. When in fact I could go, well, actually, it's not for me, but I know someone who could do that. And I guess that's part of what you got out of your speed dating networking extravaganza last night. You just saw how easily people can help you out if they know. So there's the challenge. Get committed. Write down. And you're good at this, Anthony. Your posts are often quite brutal. You'll say, "Well, yeah, but it's good, isn't it? You need that. You need this freshness."
Well, I meet people who kind of go, "It wouldn't be lovely to. I'd love to do this." And I go, "Great, let's go make it happen."
Yeah.
And I've done this. I was thinking because I was, when you said, "Oh, it might be late. I'm not going to turn up." For what can I talk about? And I kind of went back to long time ago. My first degree is in strategic planning. I'm trained to think 20, 40 years ahead. It's don't ask me anything more than that. The thing for me was, what was I going to say?
You see, you've gone 20 years ahead. You don't know now.
I did. There was a really important point there, and it's just completely gone.
We're talking about people who say they really want to do stuff, but then nothing happens.
Oh, yeah. There's in the world of planning, there's strategic planning, which is policy type stuff, long-term stuff. There is development control, which is like planning applications for construction, that kind of stuff. The third area is what they call implementation, which is making stuff happen.
Mm.
And I brilliantly, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just go and make stuff happen? Mm. That sounds really interesting. So at the age of 22, I got my first planning job was for 8 months, a maternity leave cover post, and in 6 months this person's workload was they'd have for 3 years. In less than 6 months, I got rid of it all. Because it's like, wow, I've got money to play with. I'll just go and get people to do stuff. And that was it. It's like, that was my job for the local authority. I had money. I would then go and pay people to do stuff. because I couldn't do it myself. I had to go make stuff happen. There was a budget for it. It's like, I need people to help me. And it's like, if you turn it the other way around, there are still those people that exist, and with certainly the public sector with 25% cutbacks, particularly of people, all the expertise, all the stuff they used to do in-house, they have to outsource now. And the government's really keen across the entire public sector and not-for-profit sector and to make contracts into bite-sized pieces. So it's not a £1 million contract, because if you're going to start with this, like anything between 5 and 20 grand. After that, it's just zeros. It's just scale, that's all. It's just a numbers game after that. But if you want something to cut your teeth, the first job application, pick something kind of small like 5 grand, 20 grand, 15 grand.
Do you know, there's something really vital I heard in that, and I have a live example from like my world from the last week. And what you said was that there are people there, and we talked about it at the beginning, there are people there looking to spend money. They're looking for the skills that you've got. And one of the biggest things I find, particularly with people in let's just use the word coaching as a convenient catch-all, but people in that frame, is that they've got tremendous amount of ability, but they don't think anyone's looking for it. I spoke to, what are they? It's a quality and assurance director in HR in one of the biggest professional service training companies this week. So I was basically getting a meeting with them, and she said to me, really, really lovely lady, she said to me, we're always on the lookout for something fresh.
Oh.
We're always on the lookout. Now, when you're let's say looking for the confidence or the courage to do something in your thought world, or maybe it's just me that's paranoid, right? In your thought world, no one needs you. They've got everything and everywhere, but it's just not the case. People are sitting there, in a sense, waiting for you to phone. You are the answer they need, and particularly from a point of view of so much of this stuff around well-being and whatever. We all know that the 400 or so technique-based things, whilst they can look like they get some results, they're pointing people the wrong way. If they achieve well-being and happiness, people are going to think it's because of the technique. Outside in, doesn't work like that. They're going to trip at some point. And we're in a huge luxurious position of having some, even like the tiniest bit of knowledge of that, puts you way beyond the curve, way beyond the curve. And it's easy to overlook that. It's really, really easy. Here's what came to mind, Anthony. I don't know about how you feel about this, but I get the sense that, I'm just going to see if there's any more questions on the page while I'm looking at the camera and talking, but I get the sense that we've given, hopefully, a good grounded intro, and people have got to know you as well. They've seen the person behind the frightening intellect, that kind of thing. You can pay me for that later, right? We've given people, joking aside, like an action point, something to do. I want to see what people pick up from this. You've created a form for them to download, and we'll make sure if there's any technical issues with that, getting off Facebook or whatever. Sometimes these things can be a pain. Anthony will just email it to you.
I'm just emailing. My email address is anthony@headstuff.eu.
Oh, there we go. Anthony@headstuff.eu. So he'll just ping that back to you, or I can send a pigeon round or something. So we've got that. We've got the commitment to the group of what it is you want to do, what's going to be interesting for you, the conversations you want to get into. It's not that anybody's going to hold it. I just think it's really good, to sort of come out the closet and say, this is the stuff that I want to do. You can read the tenders, and Anthony's got all the backing documents and stuff. You can register stuff. You can register to receive the tender information via RSS feed or whatever yourself. You can register for the detailed documents. You can look at them. You can start to write down the stuff that you'd like to give, you'd like to share with these people. That's 4 points. What was the fifth one? I had 5. Can you think of the fifth one?
I can tell us what you think of the fifth one, which is somebody came to me about a month ago. I posted a proposal. It was around criminology, and they said, "Oh, I'm interested in this." So we downloaded the 365 specification, but kind of scrolled through the index, and this is what it's all about, just on a few pages. And I'm going like, we can't go for this. This is just not. We could collaborate with somebody else. We could form a partnership. We could possibly do that. But the cool thing is, in the conversation and just reading, it's like they just displayed their entire strategy, because it was around evidence-based policing. That this police force had decided, and they wanted to kind of manage the process. And their entire strategy for the entire police force for the next 3 to 5 years was all mapped out there.
Yeah.
And part of which, in a simple line, was that whoever got that particular contract, they would have to find 3 to 5 new ways of policing, improving community safety, that kind of stuff, and to test it out every year. I was like, wow. What we could do, which is what it's like, we could come up with something or project, because I knew a bunch of people who pay for that stuff, like something like £15,000-20,000 to do some stuff. We could evidence base it on a very tiny pilot project level, and then we could feed it into their strategy. Because the cool thing was that whoever got that contract, they would announce so-and-so is the contract holder. Or we could just go directly to the police force and said, because they were looking for what's the word they use? Promising new approaches. They were looking for that. They'd been out, and then their contract was to implement 3 to 5 of these. So I thought they were looking for those promising approaches. Okay, let's go and test one out.
Yeah, you see,
it looked like we started with specification, but that was the starting point. Okay, let's just put it to one side. What it is you really want to do, and then we found a way to get it in there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I think there's so much here. There's so much that can be done. I'm going to suggest what we do for this call is that we get out of the elevator. And we stop you there. I know you could sit here until dawn, and it would be fascinating. And you know, there's loads there. But the thing that I think is really key, it's not that we're looking for people to take a bull in a china shop approach to action. I do see some of that as not being that helpful, but I'm hoping that from the feel of the call, from the expertise you've so kindly shared, Anthony, and I'll drag more out of you yet, don't worry. I'm sure when I watch the replay I'll think, oh, missed that. Oh, he said that. You know, we always get that. Is that people start to see whether this is a direction they want to look in and go further with it. Yeah. Because you are going to be running your like intimate retreats.
My winning proposals workshop.
That's it. Winning proposals workshop, and it's not. I think when I was talking to Anthony about this, what really came across to me was that I wanted people to be able to make a really informed decision as to whether that was a great move for them, rather than deciding that it was or it wasn't based out of guessing. And like Anthony said right at the beginning, when you've got a ton of expertise, it's sometimes difficult to slow it down and to work out what the pieces are. And I think, mate, you've done a great job of putting up with my jibes to do that this evening. So thank you on behalf of the people who are watching. I'm gonna on the next call when we organise that. I'm going to get Anthony to talk about collaboration as a key topic, because I think that will ease a lot of concerns. When he spoke to me about it this week, I was like, oh yeah, that puts me back in the frame. I'd ruled myself out of the frame for a couple of things, and he went, oh, hang on, you've done that, haven't you? You've done that, and I'm like, yeah, but I haven't done that. He said, cool, so we'll just find somebody who has, and he started naming people. It was like, oh, I'm back in the game again. So I think we'll start quizzing him a little bit about collaboration, and I'd really like to take some questions from people watching and get your feedback. So are you good with that, dude? We're going to do that next time?
That sounds cool with me.
Perfect. In which case, I think we'll say thank you for those people watching live. Thank you for sticking with us on a Friday evening. And for those people watching the recording, thank you for watching the recording. And for those people who didn't watch, you missed it, didn't you? There it is. There's checks waiting to be written. Thanks, Anthony, for your time, and we'll see you on the next collaboration call. See you all very soon.
Cool. Cheers, Dave. Thank you.
Cheers.